At some point tonight, you're going to hear a sound in another room, and your body is going to tense up before your brain even decides to. You won't know why. By the end of this, you'll never experience that moment the same way again. That tension isn't anxiety. It isn't a quirk. It is one of the oldest survival programs ever written into a living body. And it is still running inside you right now, every single day, completely without your permission. Your nervous system does not know what year it is. Let that sit for a second. The part of your brain responsible for detecting threats, a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala, evolved roughly 200 million years ago. It predates language. It predates cities. It predates fire. Long before your ancestors were human, something very much like you was scanning the dark for movement, listening for footsteps that didn't belong, watching the tall grass for shapes that shouldn't be there. And that system never got updated. You are running ancient software on modern hardware. And most of what you call your emotional life, the racing heart, the inexplicable dread, the sudden urge to look over your shoulder, is not a malfunction. It is exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is that the threats have changed. Your brain hasn't noticed. Here's what the ancient world actually looked like. For roughly 99% of human evolutionary history, your ancestors lived in small groups, typically between 20 and 150 people, on open savanna or semi-forested terrain. They were not at the top of the food chain, not even close. Early Homo sapiens were prey. Paleontological evidence suggests that our ancestors were regularly hunted by large felids, hyenas, crocodiles, and birds of prey, not as rare incidents, but as a constant daily pressure shaping every decision a body could make. Verify specific predator pressure studies on early Homo sapiens populations. Think about what that actually means for a moment. You didn't wander off alone. You didn't fall asleep without someone keeping watch. You didn't ignore a strange sound in the dark, because if you did, there was a real chance something would kill you. The individuals who survived long enough to pass on their genes were the ones whose nervous systems defaulted to suspicion, to vigilance, to assuming the worst-case scenario first and updating later. Those people are your direct ancestors, the ones who were calm, who didn't startle, who wandered off alone and assumed everything was fine. They became someone else's meal. Their nervous systems didn't make it. What this means is that every anxious, overcautious, worst-case scenario-assuming person you've ever met is essentially a walking trophy of natural selection. Their ancestors were afraid enough to survive. This is called predator pressure, and it left a fingerprint on every living human being walking the planet today. Your startle response fires in under 200 milliseconds. That's faster than conscious thought. When a car backfires near you, your body has already flinched, your heart rate has already spiked, and adrenaline is already moving through your blood before your prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part of your brain, has even registered that there's anything to respond to. That's not irrational. That is the system working exactly as designed. In a world with predators, the cost of a false alarm is a moment of embarrassment. The cost of missing a real threat is death. Your brain runs false alarms constantly, on purpose. Neuroscientists and behavioral economists call this negativity bias. Your brain is wired to weight potential threats more heavily than equivalent rewards. Research suggests that losing something feels roughly twice as bad as gaining something of equal value feels good. Verify Kahneman and Tversky prospect theory loss aversion ratio. That asymmetry exists for the same reason your startle response fires before your thoughts catch up. Because in the environment your brain was built for, missing a threat once was more dangerous than missing an opportunity 100 times. And here's where it gets strange. Your threat detection system cannot tell the difference between a predator in tall grass and a passive-aggressive email from your boss. Both register as threat signals. Both activate the same ancient alarm. Your heart beats faster. Your muscles prime for movement. Stress hormones flood your body. The same biological cascade that prepared your ancestor to sprint from a leopard is now preparing you to draft a reply to a scheduling conflict. And your body cannot tell the difference. It only knows that danger has been detected. The appropriate response, as far as your amygdala is concerned, is to move. This is why stress feels physical. Because it is physical. it was always physical. And it gets stranger still. Your brain doesn't just respond to threats, it actively scans for them. There is a process in your nervous system called hypervigilance, a baseline state of low-grade threat monitoring that runs constantly, under the surface. Even when you feel perfectly calm, it checks the edges of your awareness, it flags the unfamiliar. It keeps a background process running always, watching for anything that doesn't belong. In the ancient world, this was essential. Relaxing your guard completely meant dying. So your brain never fully relaxes. But that background process has a cost. Researchers now link chronic activation of this ancient threat system to depression, anxiety disorders, disrupted sleep, and cardiovascular disease. Verify studies linking chronic amygdala hyperactivation to depression and cardiovascular outcomes. Not because something is wrong with those people, because the system was never designed for a world where threats are abstract, invisible, and never actually resolved. In the ancient world, the threat either killed you or it didn't. The stress response had a natural endpoint. You ran, you hid, you survived. And then the system reset. Modern threats don't resolve that cleanly. Financial pressure doesn't charge at you and then disappear into the bush. Social conflict doesn't have a clear beginning and end. The system fires, the hormones flood in, and then there's nothing to run from. So your body marinates in its own threat response for hours, days, sometimes years, waiting for a resolution that never comes in a form it recognizes. You were built for sprints. Modern life gives you a marathon with no finish line. There's another layer to this that almost nobody talks about. Your threat detection system is deeply social. Humans didn't survive the ancient world alone. Being separated from your group was one of the most dangerous positions a person could be in. A lone human, even a fit, capable one, was vulnerable in ways that a coordinated group of humans simply was not. So your brain learned to monitor social belonging the same way it monitors physical danger. Rejection registers in overlapping neural pathways with physical pain. Verify Naomi Eisenberger Social Pain, fMRI research. Being excluded from a group activates a threat response nearly identical to being physically endangered. Think about the last time you felt left out, or publicly embarrassed, or ignored by someone who matters to you. Your body reacted, not metaphorically, actually, physically reacted. Because to the ancient part of your brain, social rejection isn't just unpleasant, it's a survival emergency. If the group turns on you or leaves you behind, you're exposed. You're alone in the dark with whatever is watching from the edges. This is why public speaking activates the same fear response as standing in front of a predator. You are standing alone, separated from your group, with every set of eyes in the room fixed on you, which, in the ancient world, was almost always a very bad sign. Your rational mind knows you're giving a presentation. Your amygdala is calculating your odds against something with teeth. And this is why online criticism cuts so deep, even from total strangers, even from people whose opinion genuinely does not affect your life. Because the part of your brain processing that criticism doesn't care who it's from. It only registers. The group is signaling rejection. Danger. Respond. Here is what's extraordinary about all of this. None of it is broken. None of it is weakness. The system is functioning exactly as it evolved to function. The mismatch is not between your brain and your body. It's between the ancient world that shaped your brain and the modern world. Your brain is now trying to navigate with the same tools. You are carrying millions of years of threat intelligence inside a body that commutes to work, monitors social media, and lies awake at 3 a.m. projecting outcomes that haven't happened yet. Your ancestors couldn't afford to stop imagining what might go wrong. The ones who stopped imagining didn't survive to become your ancestors. That sound in the other room tonight, the one that makes your body tighten before your mind catches up, that's not a flaw in your wiring. That's every version of you that ever lived in the dark, without walls, without locks, Without the ability to explain the shapes at the edge of the firelight, choosing to stay alert one more night, and making it. Your brain still thinks you're being hunted. And the most remarkable thing about you is not how far you've come from those ancestors crouching in the dark. It's how faithfully your body is still keeping their promise.